Out here in the nice oak savanna habitat out at Miller Woods, and we got some really cool, real nice flowers going off right here. This is Antennaria neglecta. That is field pussy toes, they call that. This is a member of the Asteraceae, the composite family. Let's zoom in on these. You can see this one. It's pretty identifiable given the early flowering period and these orange anthers you can see there. Those are the male flowers. This is a pretty weird aster because it's only got those little ligulate flowers. Only got the disc florets in there. And the cool thing about asters is that what looks like a single flower head is often made up of many different capitula. So you can see right here, you got one flower, but if you look closer, there's actually 5 separate blooms you can see going off, each one composed of smaller flowers, like you can see here, which is why you got the separate stamens popping out of those different little pores there. So that's really cool there. Antennaria neglecta. Very fuzzy guy too, as you can see, very pubescent. A lot of hairs on these nice little basil leaves. So a bunch of that coming up. Very nice to see. This one, unfortunately, not blooming yet. Also very pubescent. A lot of the plants are going to be pubescent out here. That's just a good way of coping with the water loss that you get from being exposed to the sun all the time. But this one's pretty cool too. This is Lupinus perennis, the Fabaceae, in particular the Fabaceae subfamily thereof, which just means they got the typical P morphology flowers with the banner, the wings, and the keel. This is actually I mean, I guess it still is. It was the host plant to an endangered species of butterfly, the Carner blue. Not sure about the species on that, but what happened in northwest Indiana, we don't get the Carner blue in Indiana anymore. It got extirpated as a result of, interestingly enough, climate change. What happened was, as a result of an early warming period, the caterpillars for the Carner blue, they came out early at a time when there wasn't any available Lupinus perennis foliage for them to eat. So, and since they're specialists, because they've co-evolved only to eat this particular plant, when they emerged and there wasn't any lupin for them to eat, they just, well, they died. And, yeah, they basically just starved because they didn't have any of their host plant as a result of a phenologic mismatch that happened there between the pollinator and the plant that it pollinates. And as a result, yeah, we don't get the Carner blue butterfly in Indiana anymore, which is probably something that's going to happen more with other species, which is, you know, kind of a bummer. So let's look at something else pretty nice going off. Well, it's not quite going off, but it's budding out pretty good. This is Vaccinium angustifolium, this reddish guy throughout here. Vaccinium, that's a blueberry. I'm trying to find a nice one that's got some buds for us to look at here, because it's got a very distinct blueberry morphology. You know, they get these things, it's called being urceolate, which means basically that it just looks like an urn that someone flipped upside down. So if we can find some nice buds, there we go. As you can see right here, that nice red bud. Let me get my hand up there. See if I can get this damn camera to focus. Yeah, there you go. So right there you got the, yeah, so this is a blueberry of some variety. I think it's low bush blueberry, Vaccinium angustifolium, but I'm not 100% sure. I might have to take a couple of the foliage samples and the flowers home and maybe check it out, key it out, make sure I'm getting it right. So that's also very cool. All this going off in the same habitat. God, let's get another look at that nice Antennaria, because God, that's just such a cool little plant. That's real nice. And these interdunal wetlands, because, you know, we're in the oak savanna, so you basically just got these dune ridges, and in between them you'll occasionally get wetlands forming, like you got around there, and you get, this is actually where wild rice grows. So I mentioned once, you know, we get wild rice in the state, because there was like a sedge, and I said it looked like a rice paddy, but this is where the rice paddies actually are, and you can see some of it in the middle there, if the camera will focus. There you go. That's some wild rice right there. Zizania, I think they get Zizania aquatica here rather than Zizania palustris. I don't really know where we get that. But yeah, so stuff's going off pretty nice here. It's a lot of it's a good variety of the in terms of the botanical community. You know, it's very, very cool, nice weather. I'm really just rambling on here. I'm not really sure what we got going on in here. This looks like some sort of ranunculus, possibly Columbine, Aqualegia canadensis, which would be pretty nice. Oh yeah, I'm gonna cut. Oh, actually, no, I'm not gonna cut this because I like this guy too. Right here, you got your lyre-leaved Arabidopsis. This is a pretty nice one that likes the sandier soils. A lot of the plants around here are adapted to the sandy soil, which is why you had so much of that blueberry, because it's mycorrhizal. But you know, right here, again, typical brassica flowers on the Arabidopsis lyrata. 4 petals, jammed full of stamens. They got 6 of them in there. The nice caul-line leaves, kind of lanceolate. And then the basal rosette down there. Just got those toothed margins. And a lot of little hairs down there. Oh yeah, pretty nice. Definitely some good botanical action happening out here. You really like seeing it. One more thing I'm hoping to find is it's a pretty cool member of the Orobanchaceae. It's a hemiparasite. It's called wood betony, and well, we're gonna keep searching and see if I can't find some of that around here. And we're back with another member of the, I believe, another member of the Antennaria genus right here. This looks like, to me, I think we got Antennaria howellii, or howellii here, howells, pussy toes. You can see the growth form on these is a lot different. They seem to be a lot more, you know, it's got a lot bigger of a basal rosette here. You can see all these leaves. These are all the Antennaria leaves, and you can see they're all spread throughout here pretty clearly. You know, it's a nice spatulate leaf with a nice little, you can see it's got a nice little point at the tip, nice and identifiable. And then these very, very canescent flowers with all that fuzz in there. Really, really gorgeous. Pretty happy to see both the Antennarias out today. This one's blooming kind of early. I was doing some reading on it. Looks like these usually go off in May, apparently. So it's a little bit early, but you know, sometimes you just gotta beat the competition. Yeah, so that's really nice. Another one that's getting ready to go off pretty soon here, and we're early on a lot of these plants because a lot of the time in the oak savanna habitat, you know, it takes a while for things to get charged up because it's mostly like tall grass prairie, and you know, it takes a lot of time for things to build up all the fuel they need to truly flower with the full beauty. Oh. So anyway, but what you got right here, this one, first of all, let's talk about that. This is a Tradescantia right here, member of the Commelinaceae, some kind of monocot. What's really cool about these, actually, is they're called snotweed, because if you bust off a leaf and then you watch the tip, you can see that it's welling up with this nice mucusy stuff, as you can see there, which is a very fun party trick, you know. But that's given rise to this plant's colloquial name, snotweed. As you can see, it's nice, shaped like a V, strap-like in cross-section. You know, it's pretty identifiable. They get blue 3-petal flowers on them as their monocot. The other guy getting ready to go off is right here. This is bastard toadflax, Comandra umbellata. It's in the Santalaceae, which I believe is the mistletoe family. So it's pretty cool to see this. It's actually the only species in its genus, so it's a monotypic genus. So you gotta wonder what's going on with that. That's always an interesting thing. You know, when an evolutionary lineage only ends in one species, you gotta kind of ask what's going on with that. So some very cool plants happening out here in the majesty of the oak savanna. Drop my phone there for a second, but let's get another look at that Antennaria. You can see this one's in full flower. Absolutely. God damn. You gotta love the Asteraceae. One of the most diverse flower families on the planet. One of the most ecologically successful. They're on every continent. Yeah. But the oak savanna, very nice. So I mentioned this one earlier. This right here is that Canadian wood betony, Pedicularis canadensis, member of the Orobanchaceae. This is a hemiparasite, which means that it can steal nutrients from other plants, but as you can see, since it's got that green foliage, it's also capable of producing chlorophyll on its own. Member of the Orobanchaceae, you know, the entire family is composed of parasites, either hemiparasites or holoparasites, which are outright parasites. The other hemiparasite, forgot to mention this when I was talking about him, you can see it right next to it, Comandra umbellata. This is also a hemiparasite. So you gotta wonder, you gotta really wonder here, who's eating who? Is the Pedicularis eating the Comandra, or is the Comandra eating the Pedicularis, you know? I don't really know. I don't know who's eating who. Maybe they're both eating each other. It could be something weird like that. But as you can see, there's another one of those Pedicularis. Very, very weird looking flowers. These aren't quite going off yet, but these are right here in what's left from a controlled burn. You can see on some of these rushes, or I don't know what this is. This could be a juncus or some shit. I don't know. But these are all, you can see on the tips, they're burnt. You can see on the ground all this nice duff. Really, really nutrient rich. Good stuff for plants to grow in. Definitely, yeah. So some cool hemiparasites right there. You know, they can do fine on their own, but you know, sometimes you steal a little bit from the neighbor maybe when they're not paying attention. That's all Phragmites australis. That's invasive. That's really, really bad, and I hate it. But you know, the wood betony seems to really be loving this exposed area. You know, Pedicularis canadensis, everyone. A very, very weird, another colloquial name is beefsteak plant. And this is why I don't understand common names at all, because sometimes they don't make any goddamn sense. Which is why, ooh, this one's real close. That guy's almost ready. Look at how pubescent these are. God, wow. What a weird plant from a really cool family. God. Oh, I hate all that. That's so gross. It's a really nasty invasive. It spreads primarily via rhizome. You see the big feathery things on top. This is a member of the grass family, actually. Member of the Poaceae, same as the Zizania aquatica, the wild rice. But you can see those big feathery seed heads. This plant actually sucks at spreading via seed. You know, like it doesn't propagate very well via seed. What it does propagate very well by, though, and very aggressively by, is rhizomatically, by rhizome. So that's the deal with this Phragmites australis. Very, very bad invasive. So here's something pretty nice that you can see about the importance of fire. So they do a lot of controlled burns out here because oak savanna, as an ecosystem type, it's one that relies on fire to put nutrients back into the soil and just kind of regenerate the area. Because, you know, you get a lot of the woody shrubs, you know, like these guys that just got left over from the burn, they're top killed and shit, you know, and they shade out your smaller plants, like, for example, this wonderful Lupinus perennis, or, for example, this nice Tradescantia, or some of the other grasses and stuff. So you really need fire in the ecosystems that have evolved with fire for millions of years. You know, you got to keep that fire needs to be maintained in the ecosystem. You know, you got to do controlled burns, because if you try to just suppress fire and suppress fire and suppress, what eventually happens is, well, I mean, you're going to fuck up. You're not going to suppress it, and then you're going to have a whole inferno on your hands, and people are going to die. So you got to just take it nice and easy and do the controlled burns. And of course, I've also got to talk about it because I love it so much, and because I love seeing it in all the variety of habitats. You know, you go anywhere with the sandy soil, and you get the magic old northern cactus, Opuntia humifusa, just growing up in what's left of the burn. It kind of looks like trash right now, but it'll regenerate from his dormant rhizome underground, put up some new pads, get some summer rains. So yeah, so just fire is really important. And you know, the smart idea is not to try to suppress it and make it never happen. It's to try to work with it, to try to work within the constraints that the ecosystem has set. Because, you know, I mean, the indigenous people understood that, like, they understood that controlled burns needed to occur in order to continue the environment, you know, and basically keep it in balance and keep it in check. You know, they understood that, but then the Europeans came and they genocided them, and we said, you know, they were probably backwards anyway. What did they know about ecology? having lived here for thousands of years. I'm getting sidetracked again. Yeah, so just fire's important. Remember that, you know, fire suppression isn't the answer, but fire management is. So yeah, have a good one, folks. Be safe and all that.